Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Simon here with another reaction to the Acolyte, episode number 7. There is just this and then one more to go, and then we're done. We got then a bit of a break before Outlaws, which I am planning on streaming, so stick around for that. And then we've got Skeleton Crew at the end of the year, which again we'll pick up when that comes out. But as for the Acolyte, we've got these 2 episodes to go, and then we're done. I will be honest and say that I think that they've left themselves a little bit too much to do in the last 2 episodes. I am a little worried that, maybe it's going to feel like most of this season has so far, poorly paced, a little bit jarring. But I might be wrong. I don't want to make a judgment before I've actually seen the episodes. But it feels like there's a lot to get through in just a short space of time. Because for me, that's been the biggest issue, has been the pacing and the structure of the show. I don't think it's complemented the story very well. I think it did need more time for us to focus on some of the characters, to let the mystery kind of, really stew. But the mystery is one of the biggest aspects that I've enjoyed about the show. The idea that I can't even put my finger on a possibility of what we're going to learn in this episode of what happened in Brendok, because it is going to be a flashback. We're going to find out what shit went down. How it directly affects Chimera, who's lying, how is Venestra tied into all of this, and then we'll be on to episode 8, which will be presumably the fallout and the final showdown. I don't know who the final showdown's going to be between. I don't know who's on whose side. I don't know who I'm rooting for. At the moment, I feel like I'm rooting for Chimera in a way, because it feels like he's been the kind of most open and honest character out of all of them. Even though he's not morally good, he's still kind of like, at least he wears his heart on his sleeve. A heart made of cortosis, which we saw explained in last week's episode. And again, there's been some theories banded around about the planets that, he's been based on the fact that there are cortosis ores on there. There's only one planet in Legends that, cortosis could be found on. It tied directly into Plagueis and Tenebris. Who knows? We know for a fact it's not Acto. That has been pretty much confirmed by Leslie Headland. So there's a lot to unravel here. But we're going to get down to it. So if you haven't, please do hit the subscribe button. There's a lot of content to come out on the channel over the next few weeks. I'm hoping to get a couple of videos out this week. We have our pre-watch parties. So if you've not seen them, an hour or so before the episode, we have a live stream where we just talk about our theories for the episode. We talk about the week's episode gone by. Have a lot of fun. We get, some really strong numbers there. There's a lot of people building a community there already. So if you want to be part of that, subscribe and join us each week. And, I might keep that going. I might keep that a Wednesday thing because, it is Wednesday here in the UK at the moment. It's early morning. So, yes, we're going to jump in and watch the episode, second to last episode, 7th episode of The Acolyte. So this is the kind of stuff that Jedi get up to normally, the boring stuff. Soil samples. Collecting minerals. Maybe someone just got bored and snapped.
100 years ago, this planet was catalogued as lifeless because of a hyperspace disaster. Yet this planet,
oh shit.
Brendok, is thriving.
So there's some plants here.
I wonder which disaster. Is that the disaster from the very opening of the first book, or is it one of the other
Do
ones?
not center around your anxieties.
I like the tie-in.
Nothing could be more important to the Jedi. This is a noble mission.
So the question is, did the witches create all the other life as well on the planet when they made the twins? Love those little luminescent bird things. But this is where he first encounters May and Osha then, isn't it? That's the Bunter tree. The only problem is I'm having to be exposed to the acting chops of these young twins.
Why do you always have to do things like that? Get up.
Why does he seem so afraid or shocked every time he sees something happen to them? I mean, clearly he knows that now that they can use the Force. But he seems very... Strangely interested. More so than normal.
The witches prepare for a ceremony tonight. What if the girls are in danger?
He feels a bit too invested.
Indara, I know
Doesn't he?
you would defer to the council, but I insist.
Jedi Padawan, son of paupers from the planet Bonadon.
Oh, okay. I'm all for this.
You've traveled so far only to become trapped on this planet. I would always let you have what you need.
Resist, Torben.
Why not ask me? Go on. Go on. Go on.
It's clever though. Target the youngest,
Ask me.
the most vulnerable.
Her coven will never let her leave. They are so insular. So strange.
It's interesting to see Indara being the voice of reason.
Magic.
Like, she's quite wise to the fact that
Ceremonial markings are customary in many
it's
cultures
not
in the galaxy.
But Osha
an
did
ideal
not have
scenario.
one.
I still love the interior of that ship. It's got like a 50s diner vibe to it. Like, colours are all over the place, but somehow they accent each other
This test,
and complement each
you
other.
must divine. But your children, how can you become the leaders?
I
She doesn't know. She's a
don't
kid.
know.
You see, Indara's very clever. She's
Everyone must walk through fear.
speaking on her level.
Everyone must be sacrificed to fulfill their destiny.
Sacrifice? That sounds concerning.
Thank you for explaining that to me.
Considering the fact that they all die shortly later.
Osha passed.
I will meet you at the camp when I hear their answer.
It almost feels like I can maybe see where this is going. If Sol feels like Indara is going to say no anyway, the only choice is to get rid of the coven so that Osha has nowhere else to go.
Will they let us come home at least?
That's all Torben wants. He just wants to go home.
They've already made their decision.
He's like, what else do we need to do then?
Passed.
After you coached her, do not alter this little girl's destiny because you have formed an emotional attachment to her.
That is not what's happening here.
He's getting angry.
I want to do what's best for Osha.
We just need proof of a virgin, and those girls are the proof.
And he wants to go home. How many of us saw the reason for this going to shit because someone wants to go home? Gotta say, the speeder scenes don't really hold up in terms of visuals. Again, if the show wasn't as expensive as it is, I wouldn't complain about that, but it's kind of like, you should be able to afford decent
I must discuss the situation.
CGI budgets. Yep. That's how you start a fire. Don't play with fire, kids.
What are you doing?
Oh no. See, you need to have fire extinguishers on hand. Fire safety regulations are terrible here. Also, don't just stand there. Do something.
Someday those noble intentions you all have will destroy every Jedi in the galaxy.
Prophetic words.
Easy, Torben.
Help! Mama! Help!
Osha!
No, that's May. Wrong one. Clearly you're not that in tuned. Oh shit, what are you doing? What the fuck? What is... Oh, he's gonna stab her. Oh, he was gonna try and... Oh shit, okay, yeah, no. That was to stop her... There we go. Someone got stabbed in the stomach and died. With a lightsaber. Can we stop moaning about that now? Now's not the time for that casual defense shit, you know? I know you've just murdered someone. He's not fighting back. So the generator explosion was just the fire.
Not you.
Kalnaka. Oh, they're in Kalnaka's mind. Oh, this is going to be bad. Oh, no. There we go, leap. There you go. Folks want to see Kalnaka fighting. Here he is. Nice. Nice. Okay, now... Getting into a fist fight with a Wookiee is not recommended. Oh, Indara. She's in his head. Wait, did you just kill them all? Separating the link, kill them?
Master.
He can't hold them both, he's got to choose! He's going to choose Osha, obviously. Wow. Well, that went to shit real quick, didn't it?
Master,
Oof.
I'm sorry.
Kalnaka.
What will we tell the council?
Huh. Yeah, why did they cover it up rather than just be honest?
We will tell the council the truth.
Because I'm guessing that would lead to him being
May
expelled.
burn down the witch's fortress,
Oh.
and everyone was lost.
At the mercy of the council, ask yourself why you made this choice.
Oof, that's a good point. Telling the truth would throw everything away that they did. Because otherwise she'd just end up being rejected by the council and left on her own. So, most definitely not what I was expecting to kind of be the cause of that kind of disaster. But I do see the underlying kind of message and kind of, you know, I think it really underpins the reason why the Jedi say that attachment is dangerous. Because you can see in that episode that, I mean, Soul's attachments, a very strange, sudden attachment, is what's caused all of that. Torben's desire to go home, you know, was also a catalyst. And so, you know, you can see why, from her wisdom, she said from the beginning, you know, we shouldn't interfere. You know, we should just report back, do our job, and that's that. You know, don't interfere beyond kind of just investigating. And if they'd have followed her orders, then yeah, you know, okay, Osha and May would still be with the Coven, and who knows. But certainly shit wouldn't have gone down like that, you know. But at least it did explain a few things, and, you know, I hope that people, I mean, I know they won't, but I hope people stop saying, oh, it's Anakin's backstory is ruined, Anakin's, you know, prophecy is ruined, because clearly a Force divergence is not, you know, the same as creating, you know, Anakin through the will of the Force. There's clearly something more going on there, and they're trying to kind of expand the lore of the Force, which is fine in my book. You know, you're not treading on any other territory. You know, they're trying to create new ways of, you know, expanding the story. And, you know, I kind of almost like the simplicity of it. It's kind of like, it's just down to human emotion. It's down to possessiveness from Soul and a desire to protect. It's down from a lack of maturity and feeling of homesickness from Torben. And again, you know, the distrust from the Coven towards the Jedi, which is understandable. And all of those things come together to create this situation. And, you know, obviously the big moment was Soul stabbing the mother as she was going to take over. I mean, I don't know exactly what she was going to do, but it was clear she was going to manipulate someone's head. And, you know, Soul acted decisively in a way that, you know, you wouldn't expect the Jedi to, and that's why, you know, they've been saying constantly that, you know, a Jedi only attacks in defense. And it's clear why May knows that, because she was there when her... I want to say unarmed, you know, she definitely wasn't defenseless, but, you know, her unarmed mother was attacked by a Jedi and killed. So you can see now why May has that different outlook to the Jedi, because, you know, Osha's been lied to. And, you know, May obviously experienced the events firsthand, but it's how has she been manipulated in the events afterwards by Chimera and whoever else she's been picked up by. Because, again, that's the thing, that this story hasn't still explained. You know, this episode didn't explain any more about Chimera, which I will admit, I kind of expected Chimera to be part of this. So his story will clearly be told in that last episode. Again, I think they're still leaving themselves with a lot to explain. And again, this episode could have been smoother. I think it could have been served better by having less of the long scenes that we've already seen. I get that you're trying to show them from the other character's perspective. But sometimes it lingered a little bit too long on scenes that we'd already seen. And it kind of felt like literal filler. Also, you know, again, I wouldn't be one to hark on a CGI sequence that was insignificant, like the speeder bikes. But when a show has a reported budget of 180 million, you kind of expect stuff to look crisp and clean. And those speeder chase scenes and just the speeder scenes in general didn't look fantastic. Like, everything else was fine. Everything else looked alright. You know, I still love the sets. I love, especially the ship set. I love the American diner kind of feel to it. The Witch's Coven has a unique feel to it. You know, I liked the visuals of when they were, you know, taking possession of people. The way that they kind of, it's almost like demonic in a way, and they go into black mist. You know, which is what witches do. We've seen that happen before. It's just the green mist from the Dathomirian Night Sisters. And yeah, they take over Kalnaka, you know, and that explains a lot of the conflict there. The idea that Indara breaking the link killed them all was a bit odd. I think, again, that's some stuff just kind of like you just have to accept, but it could have been it could be explained better just by a line of dialogue, just explaining that, you know, they're all dead. Why did they all die? So there's some stuff that could be explained a little better. Because, again, your more casual audience mightn't realise that, okay, well, maybe, you know, interrupting such an intensive thing might kill them all. It might be like a feedback loop. Or if it knocked them all out and then they died in the fire. You know, maybe that would have been an explanation as well. So, again, this is, for me, is the biggest issue of the show, is not necessarily the content and the quality of the story. It's about the execution of it. It's the structure of it, the way it's presented on screen. You know, and that's where it's kind of really been held up. Like, I like the idea that these Jedi have come along, they were just doing a planetary survey, and, you know, all of a sudden they encounter this anomaly and are investigating it, and then they find the twins. Now, again, for me, the issue really is Soul. I get that he is someone that desires a Padawan. He's got that possessiveness, almost like a father-like ideal to have a Padawan. But he seemed to get very attached very quickly, and then he seemed to just ditch May the moment the Ascension happened. It went from talking about how they needed to get the girls out, and then once the Ascension happened, it was like, I need to get Osha out. And yeah, some of that will be because Osha was more malleable to join the Jedi than May was, but it just felt like he kind of gave up on May. And that might be intentional once we start to see his explanation Like, I think, again, that's another thing that we could have really been served by, is having that end scene of him explaining things to May. So we got a bit of context on his feelings, rather than having to wait till next week for it. But maybe they felt that wouldn't be in keeping with it being a complete flashback. But, you know, in terms of what actually happened, I think that it was absolutely fine. It made sense. I like the idea that a mixture of youthful immaturity and desire for home mixed in with, you know, this impulse to protect and the possessiveness, the attachment, led to ruin. And, you know, it kind of... it maybe gives you a bit more insight as to why the Jedi do become a bit more strict in that sense, you know, the lack of attachment. Because it has, you know, cost them. But the cover-up also at least makes sense. You know, Indara... this episode made me really like Indara, because she became, like, the wizened leader. She saw far off that interfering would bring about disaster. And then once that happened, she was in damage control mode, and she was thinking about the consequences of telling the truth, which would be Osha would very likely be rejected from the Order, Sol probably would be kicked out, and Osha is left with nothing, having lost everything, and it was their fault. She probably felt responsible, and, you know, felt that she had to make a sacrifice to cover it up, you know. And that played on their conscience, and it's cost them all. You know, I feel bad for Torben as well. Torben, who's just this kid who just wants to go home, ends up suffering these traumatic events, being disfigured, and then feels so guilty afterwards that spends, you know, an entire decade in a meditative state and then kills himself. You know? So, yeah, there's a lot to answer for there. But again, Jedi aren't perfect, and, you know, this kind of shows it. So it'll be interesting to see what people's reactions to this are. But again, I feel like they've left themselves a lot to pick up for the final episode, considering this is going to be a one-season story. So I'm feeling a little doubtful that they'll nail the landing, but I've been surprised before. Certainly, it wasn't the worst case scenario. I think that a lot of it made sense. There's a few bits and bobs that, you know, again, I question just the execution of it, but overall, I think that, you know, if you were to go back and watch this story from A to B, then it would make for a much smoother journey. But because we're watching it in blocks and it's very stop start, I think it doesn't help the experience. But yes, anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you for the last episode next week.